Hi, I'm Charlie with Berd, and today we're going to go through an in-depth operation of how to use the TRUDI Tensiometer. This tensiometer is based on the Jobsbrandt design, and more recently, the Wheel Fanatyk tensiometer design, where we've collaborated with Wheel Fanatyk to build this tensiometer. The great thing about this tensiometer is that it doesn't require calibration over time. So in most cases, the tensiometer will remain calibrated for many years without needing to update that. And that's really nice with TRUDI because you can just be assured that it's going to work well. However, it does take some training to become really good at using the tensiometer. The first step in using the TRUDI tensiometer is to put the system in truing mode by pressing the button on the bottom of the screen. And we always start by measuring spoke 2, which is the first spoke next to the valve hole, when spinning the wheel down on the right side of the wheel. When using the tensiometer, the first step is to depress the button at the back of the tensiometer and put the tensiometer on the spoke. And when you hold it on the spoke, you can hear the click sound. After the click sound is made, then we're going to release the tensiometer to measure the tension. So again, we're going to hold down the button on the back of the device, push it onto the spoke until we hear the click, and then release it. The important things to do are to make sure that it's firmly seated on the spoke before you hear the click, and then completely release the anvil. So again, we place the tensiometer on the spoke with the button depressed. We wait until we hear the click, and then we release it. We want to be sure that the spoke is touching both sides of the pins. The two pins are separated by 4 inches, and it needs to be touching both of the pins to get that 0 measurement, and then we release. The tensiometer automatically takes the tension data when it becomes stable, and so we don't need to press a foot pedal or press a button to take the measurements. If we're moving around, it won't take the data. It'll just keep waiting for us to get a steady signal. But once we put the tensiometer on and keep it steady, it'll take the data, and then we can release. Some things we want to be careful about are we want to be sure we're not pushing on the spoke with too much force when we're getting that 0 measurement. We also want to be sure that we're not pulling the tensiometer too hard when we're getting the tension measurement. So we place it on with a delicate touch. We release with a delicate touch to get an accurate number. Some things that you can do incorrectly is if you don't remove your hand completely from the anvil, like this, where my thumb is still touching the anvil, we'll get an artificially high measurement. So we need to put the device on, completely release it and be sure that our thumb isn't touching the anvil when it takes the measurement. We'll put it on delicately and release to get our
first left side spoke.
To get our measurement. The general operation for taking measurements is to do all of the right side spokes first and then move to the left side. So we'll move to the first left side spoke and use the tensiometer with our other hand. We'll use the same process where we put the tensiometer on with a delicate touch and then release it. When we release the tensiometer, we make sure we're just balancing it in our hands, again, without pulling on it or without pushing on it, but just holding it fully released so that our thumb isn't touching the back portion of the anvil. So we'll go around the wheel, measuring all the spokes. Some other important things to know about this is that it doesn't require any batteries. It doesn't have a display. Rather, the display is on the screen. So the center of the screen shows us 0.00 when it takes the 0 measurement. It's essentially measuring the thickness of the spoke when it takes that measurement. And then we release the anvil to then take the tension measurement, again, which it shows in the center of the screen. After we've taken all of our tension measurements, we can view those measurements on the screen. And if we think we've taken a measurement incorrectly, we can check and adjust that if necessary. For example, spoke number 21 has the highest tension on the left side of the wheel. That tension right now is showing 48 kilograms of force. So I'll navigate to spoke 21, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21. I'll place the tensiometer on that spoke, and I'll retake the measurement. And now on the screen, it says that we've averaged 2 measurements, we've removed 0 measurements, and I can continue to take measurements, and the system will average each of those measurements as I take them. In this case, I took 6 measurements. All of the measurements were approximately 48 kilograms of force. It averaged those measurements, and it still shows that that average is 48 kilograms of force. So the tension on this spoke looks good, and we can press the done button. It will adjust the tension on that spoke to account for the fact that we've taken now multiple measurements, take the average of those, and put those on. In this case, the tension measurement remained the same, so nothing has changed. Once we're happy with all of the tension measurements in both the left side and the right side of the wheel, we're done measuring the tension, and we can move on to the next step. Learning the tensiometer takes some practice. Don't be afraid to do multiple rounds of tension measurements and then redo those while you're learning until you get very good at it, until you get comfortable with it. It is the most difficult part of TRUDI to learn how to use, but once you master it, it becomes second nature, and you can move on to truing wheels.